Hey everybody, welcome to Otaku Flavored Podcast. Get ready for a crazy adventure. And we're here with Jay, as normal. Jay's here.
How's it going, guys?
All right, yeah. And yeah, sit back, saddle up, and get ready. Here, I'll just start it, screw it.
Oh, you missed us calling you a simp. We could have got ourselves in trouble.
That's
only on Twitch, not YouTube.
That's not YouTube. Yeah, YouTube doesn't give a
Everybody back to YouTube.
YouTube doesn't give a fuck. They're like, bro, what the fuck?
I've heard so many arguments that have flipped me back and forth on whether or not that was a good choice to ban that word or not. And the thing that got me on the board of like, yes, we need to ban this was when I read the comments on the thing about it being banned. I was like, oh, this is a cockroach like pile, light it on fire, let them all burn. This is terrible. But then again, I stepped away from that and I walked away from it a little bit. And then like a few hours later, I was back on the thing of like, why would you ban such a word that means nothing?
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
I get that there's people out there that do associate that word with a very negative thing, but I don't know anybody who uses it that way.
I think that's the big thing is that, I mean, I understand banning it for the thought of, all right, like we're banning a derogatory term. We don't want you to be able to call someone a simp, basically, because, like, I think the big
But
thing.
they didn't ban the word cuck or
No,
white knight
or cunt or
yeah.
Weird thing is, I don't know if that's like encompassing if they just like give certain words and then. Because from what I can tell is it's more how the words are directed, basically. Because a lot of people, some people were saying like, oh, you can say the N-word because they didn't say anything about not saying the N-word. And I'm like, no, you can't say the N-word. You still can't say like the F-word or whatever. Like, I'm fine with like, it's one of those things where I think it's just how it's directed at a person, basically. So
that is what I think needs to be the thing that gets challenged, and the thing that they do ban when they want to ban it is like, if it's, yeah, you don't harass other people, you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense.
No, exactly.
And that's the stuff that I would want off of a platform of like, if you want to disagree with somebody, politely disagree with them. But if you're going to be an asshole, don't be a fucking asshole. But don't fuck away our words from using words ironically or funny if we want to do them that
I think
way.
that's the problem with how it was presented, basically, because when they were talking about it, if you listen to the town hall, like I've watched the town hall, basically, the part, that section at least. I didn't watch the whole thing. But they do specifically say in a derogatory manner. They do say that. So I don't know if they're just banning it outright, because if you do read the guidelines, it does seem like there is that weird room for interpretation, basically. Like, is it going to be banned? Are you going to be banned for saying simp? If I'm like, dude, Jay, you're being such a simp for Chi-Chi right now, right? Like,
I mean,
you're like, yeah, bro, like, definitely I am. And like, you don't take it in. That's like the problem with this, basically, because
you don't know if someone's going to take it negatively.
Me saying that to you, right? Like, I know you. I know, like, you're like, oh yeah, I'm all aboard this train, basically. And someone else potentially could take that as an insult. And
right,
I think it should be one of those things where the word itself shouldn't be banned. I don't think we should be banning words. No. What I think we should be doing. Yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Oh no, I was listening to other people who were arguing this, and there was a female streamer who was like, I love my simps, what am I going to call them from now on that still conveys the same word? And she was like, I'm just going to call them my kings. And I was like, in a way, that hurts a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that's definitely no, right?
And I was like, oh, that stings in a weird way of like, I don't want that. Yeah,
no, it's one of those, it's like a strange thing to me is to ban words like that globally, because that's why we have moderators. That's why we have these things. And these people...
you can ban a word from your chat if you really wanted to as well.
No, exactly. And I think it really boils down to Twitch just wants a ability to ban people for being like basically for harassing people and stuff like that. Because before, let's say like I'm calling like someone a simp basically in chat or whatever, and I'm actually trying to attack someone with said word. If they reported that, they wouldn't necessarily be able to ban that person because it's not against the rules to call someone a simp in a derogatory manner, basically. Where now they can ban that person for sexual
Yeah.
harassment. So I think it's just Twitch trying to get more ways to stop people from being assholes. The problem with any of this is it really is, how is Twitch going to enforce this?
Right. And but also I hate it.
I hate it
I hate
too.
it. I
Yeah,
hate it.
yeah. I definitely, because if it's just some algorithm that's waiting for me to say simp on stream and then it's going to report me for saying simp on stream, like that's shitty.
Yeah.
That's just terrible. If it's going to be a way for your moderators or for your people to then report said people and then they become banned or whatever it is, basically, then that's fine. That makes sense. I just think the weird one for me is that they're getting rid of emotes that say simp, because
Right. Their reasoning is because you can use it in other people's chats, and even if they disable the word, then
ex-
that emote can get through when
yeah,
the word otherwise would have been blocked. So that honestly, that actually made sense to me when they
yeah,
said that. Which is a thing that I'm super sad about because, of course, I make emotes, and I was like, the cat butts. I was like, I really miss when they banned out the cat butts, and that's where it hit home for me, and I was like, oh, it'll never be the same.
yeah. It won't. I mean, we're no longer in the wild west of Twitch, basically. Like we were for a while, and over these past few years, we're kind of becoming into the industrial age of Twitch, I guess. Like people, they're starting to get structures. People are starting to kind of crack down on what a society should be and shouldn't be, instead of it being this like craziness that's like, oh, you good luck, have fun, like do whatever you're gonna do, where
Yeah.
that day and age is gone now. And now it's basically like, oh, well, you can do whatever you want to this extent as long as it's culturally like within this package. Like,
Yeah. So this is weird though because everybody tries to talk about the reason why they like jump ship from YouTube is like, oh, they were doing all this type of stuff, and so they jumped ship and went over to Twitch, and now they're like, oh, well, Twitch is doing it, so now we got to go, somewhere else or go back to YouTube or something like that. But there's a distinct difference between the two of them. YouTube, you can still get away with all this crap. The thing that YouTube did wasn't trying to censor you; they just wanted to monetize you. And if they couldn't monetize you, they didn't want you there. If you could find a way to make this monetizable, say simp all you want if it brings in the money.
see, and that's the
And Twitch is like, this is a cultural thing. Like you can't say these words because it offends somebody, not because they're trying to make money or protect themselves, which is weird.
well, I think it also does boil down to that though, because since Twitch is a platform that is almost 100% live, you
Mhm.
can't necessarily, like, let's say you're running ads on someone's stream, right? Because I mean, everyone
Right.
gets ads run on their stream, so technically your stream's monetized no matter what you do, like as an
Yes,
affiliate.
those 23 cents for last 4 months of streaming really helping out there with that
Yeah,
monetization.
no, it's definitely, I mean, as far as helping us, it is a drop in the bucket. As far as helping them, I don't know what they make off of all of us. It's probably good money. But the problem is they can't they have to monetize everyone, basically. They can't
Yeah.
go the route of YouTube where it's like, oh, you said a bad word, oh, you said one of you're being hateful, you're being like a terrible person, like we're going to drop monetization for you. That's what YouTube can do. Where Twitch
Yeah.
is like, oh, you were a bad person, we made money off you being a bad person, so now we can't let that happen. So we basically need to have stricter rules, which allows us to still monetize everyone
I
while
guess it does come back to that in a way.
it really, like, for me, I think that's where a lot of this comes from, because at the end of the day, I'm like, Twitch, all of the decisions they make, from what I can tell, are very business based. They're not very community oriented, because I think they
Yeah.
listen better. I think they would actually pay attention to what streamers have said or want, even though probably we're the vocal minority is the people who are calling things out and talking, which is possible. I'm not saying that's not possible, but
Hmm.
I do feel like a lot of the times when Twitch is making a decision, they're deciding, is this good for business? Is this good for us in before the streamers, basically? I'm pretty sure as far as streaming goes, we're not pushing sales nearly as much. Like, I know people like to think they are, and I
Oh
know
yeah,
that
no, it really
some
doesn't.
people are, like, because you could say that we're free advertising if we're not a sponsored stream. Like, I
Hmm.
just did Raid Shadow Legends and I was sponsored to do that. So therefore, like, I'm getting paid to do this, so I'm going to push that and potentially get more people to play your game, basically. Like, I
Yeah,
helped, you paid me so that I could help you stream your game. Now, if I'm playing Cyberpunk, I'm not sponsored by Cyberpunk. Did I cause people to go out and buy Cyberpunk? I do know at least 2 people who bought Cyberpunk because they were watching me play Cyberpunk. Now, is
you're the
that
only stream that's made me like the game.
yeah, well, it's really funny. I feel really lucky because so far I've been having like a lot of fun, and a lot of people have come in and be like, "Oh, well, you're having fun." I've heard terrible things. I've seen
Yeah,
videos of people playing this, and it's trash. Like,
that's everybody else I've ever seen with it. It
Why are
looks like
you?
straight garbage.
Why are you having fun? I guess maybe this isn't as terrible of a game as I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I've watched you play it, I'm like, I kind of want to play this game. Where do
Hell
I
yeah,
find it? Nobody
that's
else is playing this
that's my
because everybody
goal.
else is playing trash.
But yeah, so like I've
Lucky.
pushed 2 sales, right? Drop in the
Yeah,
bucket. Like, I don't know how many sales Cyberpunk has made immediately, even though they're going through the whole fiasco of like people refunding it now, all that stuff.
yeah.
But
That's
besides even that, like,
it's No Man's Skies.
I'm pretty positive that if you added up all of the copies that streamers have caused people to buy, it is probably not nearly as much as we think it is, basically.
Oh, for
So
sure.
it's one of those things where I do kind of understand where even like people saying the argument of, well, I'm a bigger streamer. Let's say I'm like a Ninja or something like that, and I'm playing a
Hmm.
game and 100,000 people go buy the game, basically. Well, we
Yeah.
sold like 500 million copies or whatever. That's still a small percentage of that. It is fairly big, but it's
Yeah.
still like,
You want to know the real probably reason why they're not doing anything about it is when Nintendo back in the day when they're like, you guys all owe us 30% of what you guys make when you stream. That was a thing that they tried to do on everybody who was making their content, and they started pulling it down off of YouTube, and everybody collectively got fucking pissed. And as that started to boil and started to rise, before it became a problem, Nintendo was like, we're sorry, go ahead and stream our games. We weren't trying to start anything. We didn't know that wasn't the normal. And now you can stream Nintendo games without paying a 30% or caring about it. And at the end of the day, if people got pissed enough in gaming, it's still such a small category. Like, we think about what gaming is, like, these type of titles do matter to us, and us as a group still like have authority when we talk about it, as opposed to we're not enough people to talk about a movie or enough people to talk about a music thing. If we all boycotted a song collectively, everybody on Twitch, that's like 1% of the people who listen to that song worldwide. But if all of us bitch about a game, that's a huge market of the game right there that's getting
I
pulled out.
guess
So we still have a majority say in kind of the attitude around gaming right now.
I guess actually that does make more sense, because as far as like gaming as a culture, sure, it is popular. Yeah, we are a shit ton
Yeah.
of people now, but there are more people
But
who watch movies and listen to music than play games.
there's still a voice here.
That is true.
We can still speak up, but we can't speak up against anything else. Those things are too saturated with the normies, and gaming is still looked upon. Even though, yes, the people are vocal and the people on Twitch are still a small people among all the games people and not, but we're still able to. If a bunch of streamers get pissed off, that's going to make it on every news thing that covers video games, and everybody's going to talk about it, and it's gonna be known. And that's not something anybody really has power anywhere else. I mean, look how critics had died in movies so far. Nobody listens to a critic anymore. Nobody cares if some person on whatever review site said something about a movie. Those things don't exist anymore. It only exists in games still. It's
yeah,
the last little niche area where that matters.
which I actually would argue that it doesn't matter nearly as much anymore, because we are starting to saturate.
It's dying for sure.
One of the big things I've noticed as far as movie critics or as far as all of that goes is the crowd of people, right,
Mhm.
is usually more correct than the reviewers are, because a
Yeah.
reviewer let's say you're like reviewing a movie or whatever, like you're
Mhm.
basically inputting just your taste into said movie, where there are like hundreds, thousands of people who are watching this movie who may have
Right.
enjoyed it basically and got something out of it that you as a reviewer didn't. But basically you gave it 1 star, whereas like me, I would give it 10 because I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think that whole system, basically, like if you look at Metacritic, like that's a big one for gaming. I don't know if that
Mhm.
does into movies or anything because I've never
Oh,
checked.
yeah,
But
actual review sites I don't really trust
like,
at all
or
for
like Rotten
reviewing, but
Tomatoes
yeah,
or things like that. Um, like
that's dead.
you can look at the audience score versus the rating score for Rotten Tomatoes and see the
Yeah.
like the difference there and kind of like figure out in your own head how you would handle things. For me, I think it's a little bit of, it kind of does suck in some ways that reviewers get less like, that they're not thought of as like legit as they used to be in some ways, because I
Yeah, they're
think
not respected.
the mass horde of people like just bring stuff down sometimes themselves,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like
for sure.
I'm not saying
But
that every game that has a really low Metacritic score because of the like audience review bombing it basically, that doesn't make it a good game or a bad game because people are giving it so much shit. Like right now I would be interested to see what Cyberpunk's meta game score is, because it's probably super low. It's probably unbelievably low.
hmm
And I think if you look at the review scores, they're probably pretty damn high. But for me, like I would give the game probably like an 8 or a 9 right now, where if I know I read what some people are handling it, like they would probably give it a 1 or a 2. And
yeah,
it's pretty straightforward how, like, I don't know, it's hard for me to grasp reviews nowadays. Like
for sure.
I don't think reviewing is even a good like meta, like, or a metric, I guess that's the word I'm looking for judging if you should buy a game or
Well, I mean, reviews in general. I mean, look at how reviews for anime are nowadays too. Like, you can't. Nobody looks for an anime review anymore. Nobody
yeah,
gets. Nobody looks for a review on a song anymore.
yeah,
That's 100% dead.
that's 100% dead. Yeah, I've never even thought of that. Yeah,
Movies are the next one to die. Review wise, but gaming has such a unique situation where, as all the reviews for everything dies, gaming is the only one where there's platforms with people, hundreds by thousands of people on a platform interacting with them. There's no website dedicated to everybody talking about music. There's no website dedicated for everybody talking about movies that people actually utilize and use all hours of the day. If anything, somebody goes on and writes a single critique and they leave the site and they probably don't even come back and read the comments on their own review, as opposed to Twitch is literally you there playing a game hours on end. Games are the only medium that facilitate this style of content. So it's so different, and so I understand why gaming can survive without the company being like, hey, we're going to DMCA you because nothing else could exist in this sphere.
yeah.
It's really
I
weird.
think as far as gaming goes as a medium, it is forever going to be different than movies, than music, than any of that, because
Mhm.
like sure, music can change, like it can change you, it can touch you, like a movie can make you feel like a certain way, games can make you feel a certain way, they all have, like even art or anything like that can still like change how you feel and things like that. But gaming is one of the few mediums that is truly interactive, where
Mhm.
sure, it might be a linear game where everyone does the exact same thing from point A to point B, but it could be completely different unless it's like 100% linear and there's like you just
Yeah.
hold forward, and or like even a walking simulator, even a game where all you
Yeah.
do is walk from point A to point B, someone might try to go completely out the level, someone might take a different route than you were supposed to go, someone might
Yeah.
try to do something different, like someone might learn to speed run it and get it to go the fastest you possibly can from getting point A to point B. Like
Yeah.
there's so many different ways to be able to watch someone or create something with gaming that you can't do with art, or you
Yeah,
can't
it's an
do.
interactive medium.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is, which I think is what causes so many people to be passionate. For me, I think it's what causes so many people to be passionate about it is because of how long it takes, actually.
Hmm.
Like, you invest hours. You invest, like, cool, I watched a movie that was 2 hours long, right? I lost 2 hours
Hmm.
of my life watching this movie. I'm gonna go write a review on hating it, basically. Someone could play hundreds of hours of a game and basically like, I hate this game now. And
Yeah.
it's like, wait, you played hundreds of hours of this game just to now hate it? Like, you must have got enjoyment out of it somewhere. There's no way that you spent hundreds of hours, but somehow something triggered you at some point to be like, you know what? I no longer like this, and I'm gonna let everyone know I don't like this. Like,
I mean, not to say names of games that I was playing, but there's a game that I was playing recently that a friend wanted me to play for a reason. And I sat down and I played it and I was like, this is terrible. And they're like, you got to get through the tutorial. So I did for some reason.
yeah, I don't know why you
I'm
do
not saying
that.
what game it was. 40 minutes later, I was still playing the game and I hated every freaking minute of it. And it wasn't until there was a reward that popped up. It's like, you played for 40 minutes. And it's like, I hate myself right now.
Yeah,
How
no,
did I do this for 40 minutes? This game sucks. It's barely even a game.
yeah. No, it well, it's one of those things. It reminds me of like Cookie Clicker or games like
Yeah.
that where the point of the game is so dumb. Like, it's, there's no reason why anyone should waste any amount of
We had a
time
friend
playing.
that spent years on that,
Yeah,
remember?
who has spent years playing
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So it
They finally died,
it
but
gaming is a really weird medium because
yeah.
you can get reward endorphins just out of pressing a button that gives you a cookie. Like, that will cause some people to play for years on end to try to be the best or have the highest amount of cookies ever compared to everyone else. It's
Yeah.
it's really weird to me because I totally, like, I could see someone years later or things like that absolutely hate a game that they have spent hundreds of hours in just
Mhm.
because they realize how many hours they've spent in it. Very similar to what you were saying, where, oh, dude, I hate this game. I'm 40 hours in. I hate this game even more now because I'm
Yeah.
realizing that I'm spending time on it that I could be spending on something else, but I'm spending it on this shitty game. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Oh man.
And
You want to know what though? Okay, so all this stuff aside, before we actually get into actually airing the podcast, like we need to actually do at some point here.
oh yeah, no, I'm cutting
But-
this in. I'm just gonna tell you that
I
now.
know
But
this is going to be something at some point.
yeah, 100%. But
As far as these all things go, it's really weird that I've actually gotten to a point in a game that I thought I hadn't felt in so long. I like, not gonna lie, I've gotten to a point where in Genshin Impact, who would have
yeah,
guessed? I've reached the point where I started making spreadsheets and I was like, crap, this is a bad sign. I shouldn't be doing this. Then I started scheduling myself on like when and when not I will play and whatnot. And then I started doing like a life gaming balance thing with it. And it was like, this is taking over and this is really, really bad. But now I've hit this peak moment to where like new content's coming out in the game. And for the first time since in 64 days, I feel like I'm waiting for Christmas morning for that content to come out. I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait to see what's in the stocking. Like, oh, I just want to open up everything and play with it. And it's like, I've never been this excited for a game since I was in my teenage years. It's really weird.
I personally,
But that's a problem.
I think what happens with that stuff and like how like people get programmed to hate something very quickly because a lot of other people hate things. So like
Mhm.
you're at the point right now with Genshin where you don't care. You're like, I like this,
Yep.
right? So I don't
Unabashedly
care.
love
I
it.
don't care if someone hates this game or if I'm wasting hours in this game or whatever anyone says to me about said game.
Or if all
And
my friends left and stopped playing it.
yeah, exactly. It's so sad. But it's one of those things. It's not one of those friends, I swear to God. No. But yeah, it's one of those things where I get enjoyment out of games very easily like that, and I just think it boils down to me not caring what everyone else thinks about it. And that I
Yeah.
think that's how I'm having so much fun in Cyberpunk, where some people could be seeing this as like, oh, this is a bug-ridden mess. This is terrible.
Yeah.
The gameplay's shit. Like, everything about this isn't what this grand thing I had in my mind would be. They took so many years to make this, and look how terrible it turned out. And I'm over here
Yeah.
like, yes, sword cut thing. This is sweet. And people are like, why are you having fun? Stop having fun. And I'm like, I don't care what you want. Like, it actually also reminds me of like Death Stranding or stuff like that, where like a lot of people hated that game when it came out because it's a glorified walking simulator and for an extremely long time. And I could see like, what, this was supposed to be Metal Gear Solid but not, basically. And everyone's like, what the hell happened? And it really boils down to, it's like, you fool, like Metal Gear Solid is a movie. Like, you're playing this for the story movie craziness that Kojima puts into his games. You're not playing this because the gameplay is necessarily fun. Like, the gameplay he usually uses as a way to tell his story and get across the point that he wanted to get across, which, not having a studio tied to you anymore caused him to go crazy, because it's like, well, I don't have execs or things saying like, you have to have a game, you have to have something like that's fun that these players are going to play and enjoy. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't care necessarily about that. Like, he wants you to have fun playing his games, I'm guessing. Like, I don't think people make stuff to not make like, oh, you're never going to have fun, unless that's like the point. But I think that a lot of people get this thing in their head where they're like, this is going to be a certain way. And once it's not that certain way, and they start looking around at the mass majority of people and they're like, you feel that way? And they're like, yeah, I feel that way. They kind of do this feedback loop where now everyone starts feeling that way. And you can't.
This reminds me of watching Darling in the Franxx. Like,
yeah, like
just the mass like hate that got.
No, or yeah, something like that, where like
yeah.
all of a sudden everyone
Like,
hates this thing that you love. And if you love it openly and tell people you love it, people are like, what's wrong with you? Like, how are you having fun with this? I'm not having fun with this. Clearly, there are hundreds of people who have not had fun with this. Why are you having fun? And to me, it's because, yeah, I don't care. Like, if I'm not having fun, I'm not having fun. I'm going to go do something else. If I'm having fun, I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to let you judge me for the fun I'm having or dictate what I find fun or things like that. As far as like, like even like anime taste and stuff like that, like to bring it back to this, like there are plenty of things that I like that I don't care if anyone else liked. Like,
right, yeah,
I'd be totally okay with being the only one who liked something and basically watching everyone hate it and call me an idiot for liking it. And I'm like, I don't care. Like,
it's really funny to me because that's how I've always been in anime. Is I've always been, because I've just never had other people who cared about anime with me growing up. So anime to me was like, I always love this thing. I don't care about anything else. But gaming was a thing that, like, even my mom played video games when I was young, and like everybody I know plays video games. So for me, it's the like getting to that point of caring about a game so much that I love it regardless of what anybody else's opinion. Like, I just couldn't be bothered. Like, when the cyberpunk stuff that comes up, it's like, I don't think I'll pick it up because I just don't care enough. And it's like, I just can't get invested into it, as to where it's like Genshin somehow it hooked me. And now I'm like, oh crap, I like this thing and I don't give a damn what anybody says about it.
Yeah, which is how I think you get the childhood glee of, like, because when we were kids, when we were like waiting for a new game to come out, we didn't have a ton of people reviewing. You would open up your Nintendo Power or your PlayStation Mag and it would have like a 3-page thing of this sweet looking game, and you're like, oh my god, like this is the new game that's going to come out. I'm so hyped. You get it. You don't have anyone telling you like, hey, this game's trash, and you're playing and you're like, I'm actually having fun. Like, this is sweet. You go to your friends and like a lot of them would feed back into you and be like, this is cool or whatever. And nowadays you don't get that because you're like, okay, this game's about to come out. All these people have played it. Like, there's streamers who are playing it. I can go watch as much as I want of it, and I can like make an informed decision. Look how many people are not having fun. Look how many people are finding bugs. Look how broken this thing is. It doesn't even run. And you can't, like, it's hard for you to then form your own opinion anymore because you already have all of these things. It wasn't just like how when you were a kid, it's like, this is the new game. I'm going to be playing this. I'm going to be super happy about playing this because I think the problem nowadays too is that games have come to a point where they're so much expected of them. They need
Mhm.
to reinvent the wheel every time, basically. If there's a game that has like all of these features and you're somehow resemble that game in any way, shape, and form, and you don't have said features, you're now not as good. You're now bad. There's some things that are now missing or whatever. When maybe the game when when the developers were making it didn't even think about
Yeah.
that. Didn't even want to go that route. But
Mhm.
since you had it in your mind, I needed like police chases, or I needed whatever this said thing is in whatever game. I don't care. Like it
Co-op in No Man's Skies during launch.
Yeah, sure. Or like just I think the problem nowadays is, yeah, like people expect so much of these developers of these games, and I think we have a right to. Sure, like everyone can think of whatever they want, but when it doesn't live up to your expectations, I think the problem is a lot of people then don't look at it for what it is. Like
Yeah.
um or they can't reel themselves back to even being like that kid that was playing a game just to have fun, basically. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying, I think if you're not having fun with a game, of course you shouldn't play it. Like, it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, I bought this, right? Now I own this and I'm not having fun. I need to play it even though I'm not going to have fun with it. Like, I don't think that should happen. And I don't think you need to, like, just because you think a game's going to be like really really good, or you've watched the development of this game and then you've invested all of this time into it and everything like that, and it's not what it was, that you have to like it. Like,
Mhm.
that's not a thing I feel like you have to do either. And I think it's a lot harder to take a step back and look at a game for what it is after it's been so long for making it, because for us growing up, we didn't think about dev time. Like, when was the last, like, a game would be announced and in a couple years it would come out, or like a couple months, like not even years, like it would be months even usually. It wouldn't be a
Yeah.
thing where they announced it at E3 2017 or whatever. Now 3 years later they should have released it and they're like, "Oh no, well we're going to push it back or whatever." I think the problem comes with this hype train of them announcing something too early and it basically getting to the point where they can't finish it. And
Yeah.
I know there's investors involved. There's a lot more in the gaming industry now than there was. Like, they used to be like 5-10 man teams. Like, people making games, it was much simpler. It was a much easier process. I don't know if it was easier necessarily, but the
They didn't have
scale,
as many people sticking their hands and stuff and being
yeah.
like, "Here's the thing that I'm telling you to do."
Like, to go back to Cyberpunk, like, I completely can't even wrap my head and imagine how many man hours and how much struggle it must be to have like teams upon teams working on different sections of this thing and having to bring it together, and part of it's not working, and now you have to like figure out what this dude was doing to make this thing working, and then that breaks more. And
Yeah.
because at the end of the, yeah, it's just, it's insane the complexity that some of these games are obtaining. And it's it's understandable to me. Like, I had some glitches happen to me in Cyberpunk. I can't say I haven't, but like, they're really funny to me because they're things that I'm thinking, like, a playtester probably put this on a thing, was like, okay, well there's a floating cell phone here, because there's like, I guess there was a bug that I had that another viewer said that they had as well, and it was just this floating cell phone kind of just sitting when you're walking towards an elevator. And I was
Mhm.
like, that's funny. And then he mentioned that he also had the bug, and I'm like, oh, I bet you there was a beta tester who had this happen to him, or like they were testing it and they're like, all right, there's a floating cell phone, and they're basically like, we don't care. All right, that's not breaking the game. There's nothing we can do. I'm not spending time. Like, the
Yeah.
investors are breathing
We'll
down
get
our
it
neck.
later.
We need to get to
Maybe
the
not
point
later.
where we get this game out. And I think that's one of the problems, is now we get this hype train going for so long that there is a weird point where you have to release your game, or it's basically dead on arrival, or they're afraid it's going to be dead on arrival, or you've
Yeah.
hyped it up now so much and people are like, oh, I can't wait for this to come out, and then it comes out and it's not what they expected. And so it would have been better if they could have released it earlier before that hype
Mhm.
grew to the extent that it did. And I like Star Citizen's one of those that I think is going to forever kill itself, mainly because it's had an open dev time and people just watch it and they're like, look at this game that's never going to come out. Like, look at it. Look at all these people spending money on it. Look at all of this stuff that's going on. And it's never going to live up to what it is because
No.
the mass majority of people want it to be something it never will be. And
The longer it sits out there in the open, the worse it gets.
yeah, and it reminds me kind of like what happened with, I think it was Final Fantasy 14. I think no 15. Final Fantasy 15, the one with the boy band one. That game was in
Yes.
development for I think 11 or 13 years or something like that. Something ridiculous. Where like just to think of just how long you have been working on this thing and how many technologies have changed and all of this stuff. And if people had known like, oh, Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 15 is going to be teased and going to be coming out soon. And then like they did that like year 4 in or something like that. And now there's going to be all of these extra years of us waiting for a Final Fantasy game to come out, and it just grows on it, and we just watch it go through dev hell, which is what's happening to Star Citizen right now, where like they're completely open. They're like, look at us developing this game. It's going to take us forever because we are trying to reinvent so many different systems and so much stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on, basically. And I don't, it's so weird because I'm on both camps. I'm like, just give them as much time as they possibly need and they'll finally reach something that people will enjoy. And then I'm also in the camp that it's like, but the longer you take, no one's going to ever play your game because people have like already come in and seen it and have left, basically. I don't know. It's so weird. Like,
this is funny because now just thinking about this, I think it's hilarious when you think about certain studios in context of this, and like Bethesda has found the perfect line. Everybody knows it's going to be completely buggy and shit, and they expect it from day one. So no matter when they launch it, it's good.
oh my God, dude, that's so real. That's so, because yeah, like that is kind of interesting. I don't think it helped them with Fallout 76. I think that's the one.
No, Fallout 76 was a special demon, but that's also the style of game that it was not the same as all the other stuff that they tried to release, right? That was always online play with your friends game. That was a dumb idea.
No,
versus their normal stuff, which is like when they release the next I don't want to say Skyrim, but
Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls stuff. Yeah. We're all gonna expect our horses to be able to do backflips on the mountain down the hill. Like,
exactly. I'm gonna expect some guy to go over and stare at me while walking through a wall. Like it's bound to happen, and it's gonna be fine. It's kind of almost. It's one of those things too, where if the content for Bethesda games isn't there either, like their mod team, or like not mod team, but like the people who like modding Elder Scrolls or Fallout games, it's so prevalent that it doesn't really matter. Like people will still turn this into something that was completely unexpected or was better than the original content. And people know that from the beginning. Like they're buying the game, they're playing through the base game. They're like, this is trash. This is terrible, but I'm still having fun. I'm just going to wait to mod it anyways. So yeah, I don't know. Bethesda definitely has put their bar so low that basically weird thing is it wasn't always like that. I think it really happened with Oblivion because Morrowind was one of those games that got them on the map basically, because before Elder Scrolls Morrowind, I don't think anyone knew about Daggerfall. Like as far as I was concerned with my friend group, no one had heard of Daggerfall. No one clearly had heard of Arena. Like that was those were two things they were only on PC. And I think that was another thing is this was during the age of PCs being so expensive and so like you were either part of a family that could afford one, or you had a family member who afforded one, or a friend who owned one. It wasn't computers weren't a thing yet where everyone has one. Where like Morrowind kind of put them on the map because it was also a console game. Like you could get it for Xbox, you could play it on console, which got more people to realize, oh, Morrowind is a thing. Like this is cool. And there was so much to that game. Like the first time I ever played Morrowind, I had no idea what I was doing. And as a kid playing that freely of a game, I ruined it. I ruined my own experience basically because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, like, I would just go into shopkeeps, I would kill everyone and take all of their stuff. That's all I would do. I'd get wanted by the police. I never knew
Yeah.
there was an overarching story. I would just go town to town, murdering people, taking their stuff, maybe sneaking around. And I think it wasn't until like Oblivion, because like I had played Morrowind. I'm like, okay, cool. Like Oblivion, this is going to be like Morrowind, but better. I liked Morrowind. I never could play it, but this seems like they've kind of learned. But Morrowind like hyped itself, or not Morrowind, but Oblivion overhyped itself for me, and then didn't deliver and set that bar so low. Like Oblivion was still a good game, and I still think
Yeah.
is a good game, and especially if you mod it nowadays, like it is a good game. But the problem is if you came in at E3, I remember when they announced it, and everything that Tom Howard, is that his name? I can't remember the name of the one dev who's like the face of
That sounds
Bethesda.
like, yeah, that sounds like his name.
He hyped it so hard, and I'll never forget how I was so excited for this game that never would ever live up to what it was. And that, I think, set the bar for the rest of Fallout, for the rest of everything from that point, because I was like, well, it's going to be trash, and you know what, people are going to make it better with time. But yeah, no matter what you guys say right now, it's not going to be that. I'm going to expect it to be so much worse, and that, I think, does benefit them. I think it helps. Yeah.
He did, yeah. I didn't get into him until Oblivion, but
Yeah, I think
I also didn't know about it until my friend's girlfriend was playing the game, and she told me about it, and I got into it from them. And so I came into the game with zero hype, had no idea what was going on, and so I enjoyed the game just from like a pure playthrough from that. And so my expectations of what they were was the weird experience I had from that, and going forward, I never had like a high expectation from them ever.
Yeah, I don't know. Oblivion or Elder Scrolls or any of those games, I think they kind of nail what they are for the most part. And it's not like the bugs or anything like that to take away from the whole experience. Like, it's still, they're fun adventure games for what they are. But I definitely think that Bethesda has nailed the whole, yeah, like, I know your game isn't going to be what I want it to be, and maybe it'll become what I want it to be down the road. We will see. But yeah, I definitely still am hyped for Elder Scrolls 6. Like, I can't wait for that to come out. I'll be playing it. Yeah, I'll be getting it. I remember
I'm not expecting anything special. I'm expecting Skyrim with some bells and whistles.
Yeah, I actually remember Skyrim was one of the few games too, though, where when I saw it for the first time, I was at a friend's house, and I wasn't going to necessarily pick it up because I personally didn't have the best experience with Oblivion. I thought it was okay. I was a Morrowind fan, and they had gone so far away from what Morrowind was to me personally that I was like, okay, well, this isn't what I want. But I remember watching my friend play it, and it was one of the few games where he was doing some stuff, and I literally was like, all right, I'll see you later. And I got up and I left and went and bought it. Like, literally, I left his house as he was playing and was like, I can't watch you play this. I need to go play this. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and watch you play. Like, because it looked fun. It actually looked like they nailed a little bit of the stuff that they screwed up with for Oblivion for me. And that was as far as combat goes. But
I don't remember what got me into playing Skyrim. But it was definitely a spontaneous something, and I just can't remember what the heck it was, because I didn't set out wanting to buy the game when it launched. But I mean, now that you can run that thing on a potato,
yeah, straight up. I wonder,
although it doesn't work on every potato, as my VR experience can go to show.
Yeah, that is actually a really funny video. You should definitely post that on your social media at some point or something. But
yeah, I mean,
it's a good video.
I've refunded that game twice because I bought it 2 different times trying to play it in VR, and I've never made it down the starting hill. That's just so my experience in VR Skyrim.
I wonder if Skyrim is the most released game, like on the most platforms, because I know
Tetris.
Well, okay, actually, that's a good point. That's kind of, but see, like Tetris has had different iterations of it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like Skyrim is still trying to be what Skyrim is on every single platform, basically. I guess so is Tetris.
Yeah, so it's Tetris
Um,
though.
but like the only other one that comes to mind for me is GTA. Like GTA 5 has like been out on so many consoles and is still being
Yeah.
released on so many different things.
GTA 5 is the only one that I like.
Yeah. Really, out of the
Controversial
GTA
takes there.
games?
Yep.
GTA
I never
5
liked
is the
any of
only
other ones.
Really?
Mhm.
Man, I grew up playing GTA, just GTA. So like I would
Yeah,
go
I never got past killing people in the street in the first game. That was all I did, and I was like, "There's nothing to do here. I'm done. Backing it up and leaving."
Oh my god, it's so real. Like that reminds me of my whole Morrowind experience where you're like, you know what? Let's just do this basic thing that's in the game. All right, this is the
By the time
game.
that you were saying that, I was like GTA in my head. And I
That's
was
so
just like,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, I like for GTA, I've been with that series forever. Like I remember when it was top down and strange as hell. Like
Mhm.
that game was hard to play. Like and then GTA 3 came out and it was like, "Oh, wait, this is in 3D. I can run around. Like this is third person now. This is a game. This is sweet." And yeah, have been playing them all since then. And I will forever play that series. That is definitely one of the better series. I'm just sad that they haven't announced a 6. Like, come on, you guys.
Well, dang. I mean, they're still making money on 5.
No, they
though. It's
are.
crazy.
5. That's the thing. 5 will live forever, I think. I'm like over here, like, you're just gonna
That
remake.
online community is insane. Like
Yeah.
the stuff that they still make, they make entire new game types constantly in that
Yeah, dude,
on
straight
the
up.
online mode. It's just like,
Dude, like,
it's infinite content.
RP will keep that game alive, I think, until
That
the
too.
next one comes out for sure. Like, there's no way. Like, a lot of people, I tried to get into RP, GTA communities because I was in kind of like the Arma RP scene for a little bit there. And I don't know, I can't get into it as much as I want to. It's definitely fun, but a lot of the
Yeah.
good servers you have to try real hard to get into. Like,
Yeah.
I remember the last, yeah.
Want to start an RP series with something because the last time that I did that was with Mobanogi and I really enjoyed it.
Dude, it is fun.
But there's like the level of cringe that exists. It's just, I embraced
Dude,
it.
any of that stuff is always so bad. There's so many moments when you're like, because I used to RP in WoW, and like just the thought of looking back, if I had the footage of us role playing and stuff, it's so bad. It's like,
Oh, God,
this is
yeah.
not what the game's designed for. People don't want to read or watch this, but I'm pretty sure some people would find that entertaining. Like, we were talking about this earlier on stream today, where like one man's cringe is another man's humor, basically. And
Yeah.
I do think that holds true, like even for the podcast and stuff like that. Like, we have cringy episodes. Like the last one was pretty damn cringy, and I do feel like there's probably someone out there who will think that's our best episode and will fucking love it. And
Maybe,
it'll be so
maybe.
strange. It'll be one of those things where it's like, why? What have you done? Who has hurt you? Like, and I don't know. It's just, that's the way
don't know.
people work, man.
I gotta say, I've been emboldened to do anything in life now, like balls out, do whatever, simply after I went to the darkest place on the internet I have ever gone to. And I went into the deep, dark crevice of VR chat. And I thought VR chat had many things to offer. I didn't know that it had to offer homemade movies made directly in VR chat.
Oh, God.
And I watched. Cringe was like the skimming of the pool surface, and I dived so deep into the waters it was black of just, I don't know what I was seeing.
Dude, I remember I remember coming into that room and you're like, yeah, like there's originals for VR chat. And I was like, I'm out. It's been fun. And you're like, I'm gonna watch these, and I'm like, I'm just gonna leave. Have fun, because I couldn't see I couldn't see the video playing when I walked in, and you were just like freaking out, and I'm like, all right, well, bye, Jay. Like, I don't want to be here. I feel like I need to find a safe place.
Yeah, it was an experience that I can't get that time back. I can't
Well,
unsee what I seen, and I can't excuse or explain away the fact that I stayed there and watched it from beginning to end.
well, it's like a train
And the
wreck.
worst part was there was a part of it that I actually liked. There was one of
Oh,
them that I watched through, and I was like, the worst part of this is I think I liked that one.
oh no. That's when you learn something new. Yeah, that's when you reach the darkest point and come out a new man. You're like,
Yeah.
I have now reached the bottom of the barrel. I have scraped it with my hand, and I am now crawling back with a new part of me, with a part that will stay with me forever.
Yeah, I now know I'm a part of a very small select community of people that
Oh man,
has
but
seen some shit.
that's something that's interesting because those people are just making content and they don't care, and I think that's
No, they
I'm
don't.
actually I commend them for that because that's something that
Yeah,
I want to get better at doing. I just want to make videos. I don't care how dumb they are. I just want to start making stuff again because I used to do it as a kid. Did you ever make like home movies and stuff, like anything like that?
I did not have anything to make home movies with.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah, we were I mean, I grew up in Santa Cruz, so like we were pretty like privileged here, I guess, cuz like a lot of our friends, a couple of my friends had like actual cameras and stuff, so we would record and we recorded quite a few videos and I wish I could go back and watch them right now because they would probably be literally the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. A bunch
Probably,
of
yeah.
like I don't know, we were probably like 9 or 10 when we first started when I started making like we were making like Pokemon content, I remember like just stupid trainer battles and stuff with stop motion of like I choose you throws out thing on the ground, videotapes thing landing on ground, all of a sudden thing pops out of ball and it's like no effects, no editing, terrible like lines, dialogue, all of that stuff like but it was
I love
fun.
it.
And it was one of those things
Yeah.
where I want to get back into doing that, just
Yeah.
making stupid content for the sake of making content. Like,
That was the thing about watching those videos is it's like I haven't seen somebody this honest in what they're creating. Like there's so much passion. It was like this person was literally trying to make a legitimate movie, and I was like, with no freaking budget. Like this guy coordinated, wrote, and did all this stuff, and just tried his freaking hardest. And I was like, I don't know the last time I really watched something that honest. And I was like,
yeah,
it was endearing to me, and I finished it for that. I don't know. I felt like I don't know, bonded with the person. I was like, I will
Yeah.
finish just watching this for you. Like
well, and
somebody has seen your work.
it is one of those things where like that stuff to me is so interesting because so few people are going to see what you saw. Like, especially especially for where it is, like because that person is
Yeah.
not trying to make VR content to become the most popular like YouTuber or like I want dude that does make me wonder how much of this stuff like I don't know how much not safe for work stuff was in that but like how
There was one of them.
yeah like because I wonder how much of that stuff ends up on YouTube because it does remind me of something like Tiff watches a lot of gotcha videos and stuff like that where I watch them and I see her like doing this stuff I'm like there's a whole community of people making these and to me I'm
Yeah.
like these are cringe as hell like I don't
Mhm.
I would never sit there and watch these things, but she like gobbles them up and loves watching them. And there's always a community for something. And I really think, yeah, one man's cringe or is another man's like content that they like.
Yeah. As long as you're sincere about it, that's the important part. And that's a thing that I really want to find at some point is what am I so sincere about that I can make content even if it's cringe? Like can I find something that I'm so dedicated and so honest about that I would put myself on camera and just make a complete ass of myself because I love it so much. It doesn't matter what comes out of it. And you know that's what is important is if you can really find that passion in your life about something. Because there's a lot of stuff that I've talked to with other friends and it's like I can see what they're passionate about. And I'm like, you should do that. And they're like, nobody would want to see whatever that is. I'm like, no, 100%. There's an audience out there for it if you're passionate enough to make it. It's just I'm not into the thing that they're into. Like one of my good friends, he's into old like kaiju and Sentai stuff. And I was like, you should honestly 100% make a channel and just dive into even the toys you unboxed for it or whatever the heck you want to do for it. There's something out there for it. And he's like, no way, nobody wants something. Like, there is. Like, honestly, I've recently, because watching Gridman, SSS Gridman, I've gotten to a point where I started looking at different Sentai stuff, and I'm even starting to look around for content that has that in it, and there's not really much of that out there. But I'm not personally engaged into in a way that I feel like I would ever make content for it, because I wouldn't be sincere. I would do it in hopes to be making something for somebody to consume, not because I wanted to.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is interesting, where a lot of people stop making content because they don't think anyone's going to see it. And a lot of people really, in order to make content, feel like they need the views, or they need the eyes, or like they need some sort of recognition of what they're doing is bringing something to the table, whether that's like someone enjoying it, someone cringing from it, someone's at least there viewing said thing. Because a lot of people don't like screaming into the void, where I feel like that's something you kind of have to get over with as far as content creation goes, because the moment you start screaming into the void, it's less of a void than you think it is. Like, there's, as you said, usually always a community. You could probably argue there will always be a community of people that will seek out and find your content. And whether that's one person who clicked your video, watched it all the way through, and will never see it again, and no one will ever see it again, but there's still gonna be that one person if you put it out there. There's never not gonna be someone, unless you like hit it in a place where people can't see it, then of course.
Or you're in a saturated market.
Sure, but even then, like, even if you're in a saturated market, you still will have people stumble upon your stuff. Will it ever blow up or grow? Probably not, because you're in a saturated market, but people will still see it. I think a lot of people, get afraid of the fact that they won't make it big, that there aren't people who they feel like are going to like this. I'm investing all of this time to make something for one person, basically, I think or no one. Yeah, because they don't think that anyone will see it, basically. And I think that stops a lot of people from making content, because anyone can make content. Everyone now has a smartphone. Everyone has some sort of way to make something. And I think the two things that stop most people, if they are passionate about something, are A, my content's not going to be good. Like, I can't make something that's up to the standard of what I like and what I see as good.
Right.
And the second thing is, even if I do somehow get it to the standard of what I like and is good, no one's going to see it. So why bother? And I would tell those people, just do it for yourself. Like, that's the big thing, is just make content that if you are passionate and you like something, make it for yourself. Make it for you to watch. And that's kind of how I've treated the podcast, is I'm kind of making this as something for myself, and everybody out there, like even you, like it's more for me to be doing something that I really like talking about, or I really like showcasing and things like that. And at the end of the day, I don't really like, I'm very happy that we have people who watch these and will sit there and actually enjoy this content. And I know a lot of people will click off before we even get to this moment, most likely. And that is fine. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, like, I'm making this because I'm having fun making these. Like, it's nice hanging out and talking about random topics with you. And that's the enjoyment I get out of it. And so while making it, if I can put it out there and one person, anyone, no one, it's one of those things that I'm just putting it out there. It's like, here, have fun. Like it or don't. Like, I had fun making it, and I want to get more into making other content than just the podcast like that.
Yeah. And this is, I the fact that we're doing something, we're putting momentum into something is an important part to me too, because like, this isn't exactly necessarily what I want to end on, but it's definitely, if to get to where I want to be, I need to be doing something, as opposed to just sitting on my butt doing absolutely nothing. So spending time here doing whatever is is at least giving me a starting point to say that, hey, I can post other things here if I want to. If I want to make a different video that's not just the podcast, I can throw it on here, as long as it's related to what we're doing. And it's a leaping board to start getting that momentum behind me to do whatever I want, to start speaking more clearly, better, rehearse things. Like there's so much that I can learn and build and do here that I just want to be doing something and not be doing anything. If I want to scream. I'm a person that wants to scream into the void at all times. And I don't want to be screaming to the void in a room by myself with nothing around. Like, I'd rather have something on. I'd rather have
or like
something that I can show for the fact that I screamed, like just something that is tangible, just something that I can hold on to while I scream.
Yeah, and for me, like, what got me into content creation originally was gaming and stuff like that, mainly because there would be moments and stuff where when I grew up playing games and I had friends around, like we were playing single player games or things like that, and we were all kind of having this camaraderie of one of us is sitting there playing a game and we're all having fun watching said person play the game. And I wanted to continue that into like becoming an adult. Like I didn't want to lose that, because slowly but surely all your friends move away. Everyone kind of starts having their own stuff they can do. And I'm sitting here in my room playing a single player game by myself, having fun, enjoying it. But at the end of the day, the most enjoyment I get out of playing video games, the majority of the time, is the whole fact that I'm sitting here playing it, enjoying the game, and I have other people who are sitting around watching me play the game, enjoying it as well. Mm-hmm. And that really pushed me into wanting to do this sort of content and sort of like get into streaming. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I did also get in with the mindset of what if like this blows up and I become popular and this becomes my job? Like I would love for that to happen. And having done this for now 4+ years, I know that that whole aspect is something you can never expect. Even if you put all of your time, even if you invest everything you possibly can into making content, that doesn't mean it's going to ever bring you a paycheck or ever blow you up. We're getting to the point where like it's more possible to survive off a smaller amount because content creation is becoming the norm. But at the end of the day, is it going to make you enough money to own your own house? Is it going to make you enough money to even pay your bills? Is it going to be...
I almost want to argue that in a weird way. So I'm new to this, yes?
Yeah.
I'm new to making videos. I'm new to Twitch. But I'm not new to content creation in the fact of I'm an artist.
Yeah.
And I've made art my entire life and my entire career. I've worked 8 years as a tattoo artist, made more than enough money doing that. I spent time as a graphic artist now, and I those are my jobs. Those is what I do as a living. Is been an artist, which is no different than being it feels exactly the same as when I'm streaming on Twitch.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like what it comes down to is, honestly, I think there is a way to guarantee yourself into making money as a content creator if somebody was able to learn about how to properly market themselves. Well, the problem is that there's so many people out there who feed and devour people trying to make it anywhere that there's a bunch of YouTube content that's like how to grow your stream, how to get famous, how to get all this stuff, and they're vulturizing and picking apart and destroying people who try to make it. Like, if you want to learn how to grow and be successful in the industry, don't watch any of those videos. Every last one of those people are using you as
as their way.
They're making money off of you, and that's never gonna flip. It's you approach it like traditional art, and I feel like there's a road to the end in that respect. But once again, I guess I'm also coming at this from a light of like my entry into streaming is doing more art, which in return is getting commissions and it's doing its own separate thing. But I want to say though that there is more at the end of the tunnel that is open and possible for people than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, well, for me, oversaturation, and I guess what I'm more trying to say is that I do think it's becoming easier, and the more it's becoming mainstream, there's easier ways for you as a growing streamer, as a person who is like bringing in not nearly as big as the big guys. There is a way for you to still monetize yourself and still survive, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think it's becoming easier for that. And what you kind of said is very true, though, is that it streaming and being a content creator 100% boils down to how well are you at marketing yourself.
And
And
also, are you adding anything to the community? As
well,
opposed to, there's a lot of streamers who never add anything to the community that are just there feeding off of everybody else, and they're taking in more than they give out.
well,
And I think that's a huge pitfall of a lot of streamers.
I definitely do agree with that. There are a lot of people who get stagnated for, like, I guess that falls into the for me is the category of why am I not growing when I'm just doing what everyone else is doing, sort of ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I'm making the same content as a person, they're doing better than me, why are they doing better than me, basically. And I think one of the issues with streaming and things like that is a lot of people aren't good at making content, and
Yeah.
or aren't funny, or and think they are, or think that they're bad at video games, and or like think they're good at video games and they're not. And whatever kind of content you're making, everyone is going to suck at it when you first start, and everyone's going to be like, unless you're like a professional gamer or you're something like that, you're not going to be as entertaining as far as gameplay goes as some of those people. You have to find where you are. Like, are you a comedian? Are you good at video games? Are you somehow in between both? How are you able to, as kind of like what you were saying, how are you able to like add something to the whole content creation aspect? You're not just another fish in the pond, you're a different colored fish, or you're like,
Adding something to the pond.
yeah, you're like seaweed at the bottom. That might be a
Mhm.
unique thing that no one else is doing. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where finding that, I think, is a struggle for a lot of people. And for me, it really, I still think it boils down to how well are you at marketing yourself. And this is a new
Mhm.
medium where when you were saying like it being an artist, right? Being a
Well, I'd
tattoo
almost say
artist.
that being an artist is more saturated than
Well, that's what but I
streaming.
guess what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say is that like it's a medium that people already see as an avenue. Like you can
Yeah.
go to school for art, get an
I
art
would never
degree. I
recommend
know, no,
that.
I'm not saying either. I'm not saying that either. But what I'm guessing I'm trying to say is that as far as the public is concerned, art and like a tattoo artist, right? That's a good one to go because like there are tattoo parlors. It's like it's an occupation that has a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that has been around for a long time, that has a lot of like structure already there for you to grab onto to kind of move up into that. Like you
But here's the dirty secret about tattoo shops. The time that I was there and the time that I watched people come into the industry and leave into the industry was just the freaking fastest burn rate. There was new people trying to enter in every single day, and hundreds of them just got spit up and chewed out. There's even some people that'd be there for a year and then that would be the end of it. I was there for 8 years and I'm no longer a part of it. Like that industry devours people
well, yeah, and
at a huge fast rate, and that's the thing. Like,
that's very
yeah, it feels
similar.
no different than Twitch was.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's very similar to how content creation in general is because yeah,
Mhm.
I've seen so many people join this game and give up on it, and just because of the burnout of, oh, I'm seeing someone make this, so I can do that. So they go and they make it and they try to do it and they find out that it's a lot harder than
Mhm.
it is to have a normal job. So why am I doing this to myself when I can just go do a normal thing that already has structure, and I've already like I'm getting paid to
Mhm.
do this and it's a normal paycheck, and it's just this thing that I can do. Where like content creation and anything like that is very much everything's on you, basically. And I could see that being very similar to art, because I mean, content creation is a form of art. This is a form of
Yeah.
entertainment. This is no different than like making a picture or something like that, because you're making something that someone else is going to consume, and hopefully, if you are going the route, pay you for. And I do feel like it is still very, very difficult for a lot of people to get out of that first like little like starting area. Like, I'm still there. I've
Yeah.
been doing this for 4 years now. You've been doing it for 4 months, and I'm basically in the very same pond that you're in right now. I'm not much bigger than you. I have had my own issues because I basically am very, very bad at consistency, which I think in this field is very, very important.
Important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically being there, making content on a schedule, making sure that people can consume said content on said schedule. Because without that, you have a lot of drop off. But I think for me is I've never really tried to like make myself into something greater than me, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm very much
You're creating sums of parts that exist when you're not there.
I guess then
No.
even getting to the point that you said earlier, I'm not really adding anything, and I've never really had like in my mind a good way to add something to the pond or to the streaming community. I'm not an innovator in that way. I'm following the flock of people who are playing video games and talking over
Yeah.
video games. I might have my moments that are funny. I might have like I have a small community of people who I enjoy hanging out with, and I'm very glad that I have them. But it's one of those things where, yeah, I can't, unless I can figure out how to either A, market myself in a better light, find someone to help me market myself in a better light, or change my content altogether to be something that is more searchable, findable, consumable, that I'm not going to grow. I'm kind of stagnating, and I've been stagnating for a long time. If anything, I've been going down. And it really boils down to me is that I kind of did this weird thing where I took a step back because I was trying way too hard but when I met you, originally, I was doing content creation full time. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a day job, and I had made enough money being in IT that I was comfortable taking a couple years basically to see if going full-time content creation was my thing. And as far as wanting to do full-time content creation, I think everyone would love to. Like the majority of people that I talk to, like I feel like, I mean, I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I feel like you would probably enjoy being able to go full-time and support yourself fully off doing your own art and making your own content. And I definitely would love to as well, but it's one of those weird things where I need to learn. I need to figure out what I'm good at doing and what people like doing. And I think that's something about this podcast that I've really enjoyed when you approached me with it, is that it was something for me to try out that's new, that I've never done, that I've talked about and wanted to do for a very long time, but I never did it, sort of ordeal.
Yeah.
And I don't know what changed in me to want to do like a podcast all of a sudden or wanted to actually follow through with this, but something must have, to the point where now we're doing it, of course.
Yeah, we're on. I mean, people who know me personally will know that I am a person that will stick my head out and do everything and anything that I want to do. And you weren't the first person that I went off on an adventure to do a podcast at the same time that we started filming this. There's another person that I had actually already filmed episode 1 of another podcast with. And the problem was is they couldn't meet me on my energy and my halfway there and my willingness to do stuff. So it never saw the light of day. And so finding you is great because you put energy back into it and you've been holding up your end on everything. And if we want to do stuff, like we're both putting energy into the system, and that's very important. And that's how we've been able to get this thing rolling. Sure, it's not the glamorous thing with the brightest lights ever, but it's moving.
Yeah, I think,
and that's an important thing where a lot of people just don't get past that point.
yeah, and I think something that helped me with this a lot too is that I noticed when we talked about this, a lot of the times I will talk about stuff and with people, and I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, we should totally do this, and it won't go any further than that. And for this, it kind of was like we were talking and we're like, let's just do it, sort of ordeal.
Yeah.
And I think both of us had in mind that, yes, this wasn't going to be the most glamorous thing. We are going to be cringe. I've personally never run a podcast. You've been on a podcast before. So you have more experience as far as the whole actual podcast side goes. I've been doing content creation for a long time, which is basically podcasting in some ways.
Yeah, short, long form podcasting to yourself just yourself.
Yeah, straight up. Actually, yeah, you're like you're basically bouncing questions off yourself. So this is for me when we started getting to the point of like, let's do this. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air in some ways, because making content by yourself is fun, and I actually enjoyed a lot, because I used to do content creation with Tiff like the majority of the time, and it got to the point where video game content creation is definitely different than, like, especially with other people, because you want to have your like own little thing. Like, it's hard to control said thing, for me at least. Like, I like being in control of my content creation, where if you have someone else who you're gaming with and stuff, there'll be times, especially in video games, where, oh, let's move on to the next part, and they're halfway across the map looting something, and you're like, no, we should go on, we're just sitting here, we're not doing anything, let's go do stuff. And you're like stuck not doing anything, waiting for a person, or they're waiting on you, or whatever it might be. Like, it's hard to kind of have this like perfectly lined upness, where a podcast is, we're kind of just sitting here and bullshitting. We're kind of here just talking about topics, and like we normally would, basically. Like, you're just recording a conversation of two people hanging out and throwing it out at the world, basically. And that to me is something that has always appealed to me, but I've never followed through with it. I don't know what it was that...
Well, finding another person that has the same energy and is going towards the same thing as you is a very hard thing to do. Very few people actually have the ability to follow through with those things for one reason or another. And that's why I was saying, is like, I've started this same chain with many of other people, and you're just the first person to actually fall through with me. Because I have this energy, I have this motivation. I want to create many different things, and I have throughout my entire life. And I reached a point recently where I wanted to create stuff with other people, so I've been reaching out to other people, because I've made like art by myself for many years. Yeah. And I wanted to stop doing that. I wanted to do it with other people, and so I finally reaching it out with you and getting like this stuff going was just, it feels good, because somebody else finally put back in that energy, and now we're doing something, and that's where it feels good finally.
Yeah, it's fun to do stupid stuff. I feel like this podcast is definitely one of those things that, like, as I said, I came in with it being like, you know what? If this is the most terrible thing in the world, at least I'm making something that's terrible. Like, and I just wanted to kind of like hop into that, and you were like, let's do it. Let's actually roll with it. And it was kind of like, a breath of fresh air, where it was like, you know what? I'm not the only one who is going to worry about the recording or worry about getting the social media or doing all this stuff. Because, like, for me, I'm not an artist, so I can't do everything. There's stuff that I can't do, that I don't understand. And it's nice having someone who can be that other half that can pick up on that type of stuff. Or even like, as far as like vibing, and as far as like our just being able to have a conversation with stuff and having different opinions. Like, I do think ours lined up very well when we first started talking about this stuff, because we'd have like long-winded conversations just normally, basically. And I think that's what helped for this to become fruition, basically, because without that, out even just having that to begin with, I don't think we would have been like, yo, let's podcast. We don't talk, like, let's do this thing. But I
think we got on the subject simply because we were talking about simps.
No, it's kind of funny, right? It's really, that's something about conversations that trip me the fuck out, is to think where this all started and where this is ending now are
Yeah.
so far from each other, and all of the different paths and like the dots that get connected through it are so dumb sometimes and make no
Yeah.
sense. But at the same time, I'm glad that we made it where we are here. And truthfully, I think this is probably a good place to end for this right now. Which is really weird because we never really started this. This is like one of the ones. This is just a conversation that we just started, and it started and grew and went and morphed. And I mean, yeah, this is a thing now. So I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, yeah, this is definitely gonna be a thing.
I don't know when this will air, but we still need it.
It's gonna be a bonus cast or something.
No, I think I'm just gonna throw this one after basically these next two. But yeah, we made the third one out first. If anyone's listening to this and I don't edit this out, this is just so random that this happened. Because we're supposed to be
guys. Enjoy all of this.
Yeah,
Please,
this is
have
supposed
fun
to be
BSing with us, right? This is
like just the most bullshit episode ever, and I fucking love it. But you guys, I'm just gonna do it here. I think this is the best way to wrap it up. Thank you all for coming through, hanging out with us for this, and yeah. We'll see you guys.
I don't mind if you simp for me.
Well, yeah, straight up, I agree. Actually, don't get banned in my channel. I'm just gonna say that right now. But if you want to come in the Discord or our Discord or Otaku's Discord or whatever and talk about simps, dude, please, we won't ban you. All right, maybe we'll have some simp emotes or something in Discord. Is Discord gonna ban simps? No, I'm just kidding. Please don't Discord. Whatever you do. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. This has been Otaku Flavored Podcast talking about all things otaku. Bye, everybody.